backbone of our movement. At present, he is the professor of sociology at JNU New Delhi. He's connected with a number of NGOs, and he also writes newspapers and participates in debates on various television channels. He's closely associated with AIC since the beginning of its inception. Now he's going to share his thoughts on the topic of organizing when the tides are against the Bahujan. Professor Vivek Kumar, you can unmute yourself.
Hello and good evening, everyone, and good morning in USA, and of course, Jai Bhim to all of you who are at different parts of the world. Professor Dr. B.L. Mungekar Sahab, Kacha Professor Ailaya, and Professor Suresh Mane, they have really given us full blown discussion, and therefore my job is speaking after them, such knowledgeable persons. Actually, I feel little bit short of words. So what I have done, I will like to approach this topic. I had thought earlier to do it with national perspective, but now I feel that most of the speakers, they have taken a very broad view of the existing social environment. And therefore, what I will do is that I will like to approach this topic from an international perspective, rather than going to the grassroots and local perspective. Now, having said this, AIC, I congratulate them, President Takshak and the EC members. I can see Vijay Kumar, Ram Kumarji, all of you, and Naresh are all good friends. And also Bagaji has also come. So there are many people who know very well. So I would like to just remind that how to locate AIC. When we are going to, look the organizing when the tides are against the Bahujans, let us also look the international perspective. And that's where I like to situate AIC, because AIC has come in a particular historical juncture. And therefore, if we start looking that, at present moment, what we have to do and how we have to do, I'm reminded of Babasaheb Ambedkar, especially when Babasaheb Ambedkar was trying to compare Buddha and Karl Marx. And he said, and I quote, "The function of philosophy is to reconstruct the world and not to waste the time in exploring the origin of the world." I draw a parallel. If we really are wasting time, are we really wasting time to understand the origin of the history of the plight of the Dalits? Or we are really trying to construct something? And therefore, I would argue that we have to not only talk about the source and foundation about the exploitation and the plight of the Dalits. We have to move. And therefore, I locate AIC in this historical juncture. And therefore, when we look history, the first organization in United States of America of Dalits was Vision. And Vision, volunteers in service of India's poor and neglected. And it was established in mid of 1970s. And I've got a letter by P.P. Lakshman. P.P. Lakshman, who are there, I think they must be knowing their friends. P.P. Lakshman wrote a letter in 1997, which was published in Economic and Political Weekly. And he said, Dalits from 11 different organizations staged a demonstration on 12th July 1997 in front of United Nations Human Rights Commission. And they have submitted a memorandum to Kofi Annan, the then General Secretary in the United States. So this vision is the beginning. And that's why I feel when we start speaking that, look, we have to learn English, but we don't have to learn the history of the Dalit movement. We have to know that, look, there was Rajiv Gandhi Fellowship, but we don't learn from 198 years history of our movement. Can we learn something about our own movement? For 1.5 hours, we only tried to learn about the opposition who is so powerful, who is so clever that he is sitting with us without being present. His unpresent presence with us. That is the power of the opposition. How to mitigate that opposition and how to talk our own achievements, our own history. And I think that's where I think Suresh Maneji was trying to take you there, that what is the way out. I think that's where I think his time ended. And therefore, I thought, let me take from this route. Otherwise, I will also be put in that. So the first organization was in 1997. And out of that, there was another 70s was one of the organizations. Second organization came out of vision, and that was Ambedkar Literary Vision. And I think Ram Babuji must be there. Ram Babu formed this organization, and he told me when I was teaching in Columbia University in 2012 and 13, I was told by him, I interviewed him, and he said that he used to distribute 25 to 30 scholarship of $50 and $100 at that time. I'm talking about 90. So you can imagine that the experiments which AIC is going to do to fund some scholarship has already been done. I think therefore there is a need to take lesson from the past people. The third organization which I'm reminded of, and especially in 2013 and 13, was AIM. And AIM was one of the most disciplined at that time, and I was there. After that, I have not followed. And of course, Raju Kamble, who will not remember him. And that was basically formed in 94 to 97 in Brunei. Then it came to Canada, then Malaysia and Japan. And of course, in 2003, it started functioning in New Jersey and New York. So now the point I'm trying to argue, the fourth organization is also there, Sri Guru Ravidasi Mahasabha there, which caters to 10,000 people even today. And after that, we also have, ANA, we also have another very Boston study group. We also have Valmiki Mahasabha there. So these organizations are functioning in US. Now, what is their contribution? I think I feel elated when I talk about that. And for me, glass gets filled after, when we talk about, they have given, it is these organizations, they have really emphasized the visibility of Babasaheb Ambedkar's thought and philosophy. And that's why we see 9 universities of the world have Babasaheb's bust. Starting from the London School of Economics, Columbia University, Massachusetts, Amherst, Brandeis University, Simon Fraser University in Canada. We have also York University, we have Western Sydney University and University of Melbourne and Kaisana University in Japan. And also we have Babasaheb's statue in Hungary in Ambedkar Institute. Now, this is our positive achievement despite of all the hurdles created by whatever forces we are talking about. Not only that, there were actually Ambedkar Memorial Lectures. And I'm happy to see Dr. Ambedkar back because he visited Manchester Metropolitan University. I was seeing that because he delivered a lecture there, Ambedkar Memorial Lecture. And also he visited to Calgary University, where he delivered another lecture. So I am really thrilled when I see the achievement of the Dalit movement or Ambedkarite movement or Ravidasi movement and Buddhist movement clubbed together, that how these people have come up despite of the hurdles, atrocities, pain, agony, suffering, they have come at the international level and they have tried to establish this movement. I think both these places, the lectures are now dead, but we see new beginnings in Canada, and we have Ambedkar Memorial Lecture in British Columbia University. We also have in Simon Fraser University and York University, where the Babasaheb's bust is there. Therefore, friends, I am just trying to argue that the achievement, the positive achievement, and the organizations, these are very important, because we don't feel proud of our movement. We don't feel proud of our leaders. We don't feel proud of our achievements. And that's where I think our enthusiasm, our whole assertion, that is somewhere subdued. And therefore, there's a need. I also remember now that, these lectures are so very important. Why? Because they are basically organized with university and community propositions. So there is larger involvement of the community with the university. And that's where they become very powerful understanding of Babasaheb. We won many friends. We as Dalit movements have won many friends. We, like Gail Ombed. Gail Ombed came and researched on beginning with Phule, and she became an Indian. We also had Eleanor Zilliot, we had O.N. Lynch, we had Gauri Tatagarov. All those people, they became friends of Dalits in India, and they became a really, part of our sometimes gathering and sometimes discussion. Now, in this context, the contribution was enormous when 2001, 2009, there was this conference in Durban against racism. And that's where I also participated in that. And in that, all these people from diaspora, Dalit, at least 200 people from all over the world. I will not forget Yogesh Varade, who was also there in Peace Forum. So they all were there in Durban, and they were pressurizing to include caste as a part of United Nations Human Rights Committee, so that atrocities can be. So caste, the idiom of caste changed. Now people approach not only approach caste, but they approach basically with work and dissent. Work and dissent became the vocabulary. The Human Rights Committee or human rights became the vocabulary. So the vocabulary of caste exclusion, caste atrocity has also changed. Also, the Dalit Solidarity Network, 22 organizations of the world have formed the Dalit Solidarity Network. And that's where I think a new beginning has been made. Now, friends, these achievements, if we feel proud of it, if we really feel elated, and I think if we start discussing and debating, I will not forget at least one government of Dalits under the leadership of Dalit. How can we forget Mayawati? Mayawati's achievement of 5 years government, and that too under all odds. A woman comes and nobody even discusses, nobody even touches that. Is this proud which we feel of our movement? She is also product of Kashiram's movement. Babasaheb is also our product of the movement. So what I feel is that the mission is an independent, ideologically trained organization. I see AIC as an independent organization, ideologically independent organization. And that's where I think we are taking. The goal is to establish this ideological and to set a positive agenda. If you don't set a positive agenda, and I am reminded of, this nine-dot puzzle. Nine-dot puzzle, which was, of course, given in 1914, that there are 9 points, and you have to join these 9 dots. without lifting the pencil on the paper, and you have to join. Now you cannot join it unless until you move outside the paraphernalia of the 9 points. If you keep on removing on those 9 points, you will not be able to. You have to go outside the periphery of those 9 points. And that's where I think if we keep on harping on our history, and the history which has been very lethal, which has been really, this is part of us, this is part of our consciousness. But once we have organized, I saw when Professor Mungekar was speaking, there were 190 people only on Zoom, and nobody, how many people were there in Facebook Live? But they all wasted their time because nothing positive agenda was set. And therefore, I feel when we start setting our own agenda, they feel elated. They start discussing, then they feel really proud of their own achievements. That's where I think if we are talking about aims should think of, suggesting their own positive agenda. They feel elated of their icons, heroes, heroines, and their achievements. If we cannot talk about our own heroes, our own heroines, our own achievements, our own history of the movements, then I think we will be privileging the other. Privileging the other on ourselves. Their hegemony we accept without contesting. And therefore, the fight is, the last point which I want to make is, the fight is between the two ideologies. I see ideologies, and these ideologies have to be fought with ideology. You cannot fight ideology with English. You cannot fight ideology with certain programs. You have to fight ideology with ideology. You have to fight organization with organization. You have to fight cadre with cadre, and you have to fight with power and power. I was really disheartened when Manesar did not speak that Babasaheb in 1948. In 1948, Babasaheb said in Uttar Pradesh in 1948 on the occasion of 5th State Convention of Scheduled Caste Federation that power is the master key. If you capture, people are talking about start speaking English and atrocities will be stopped. No, sir, you have to capture. And Kashiram very well outrightly said, I have seen Pathans who were minority. I have seen Mughals who were minority. I have seen English who were minority. But rape on their women were never there. They were in minority, and yet, why? Because they were really capturing political power. If political power is with us, we can frame the law. Now, what is the problem? There is now Atrocity Act, it goes away. So we start launching a movement for restoration of Atrocity Act. Now, Atrocity Act is the product of our movement. Now, product of the movement becomes movement. Reservation in promotion is a product of our movement. But we launch a movement for promotion in reservation, but we leave our whole movement. So I think we, with learned professors sitting, learned people sitting, I think there is a time that we try to minimize individual achievements. The problem is that we talk about individual achievements, and that's what the opposition political parties, they have learned this art very well. They raise individuals. Now there is President of India who is a Dalit. Individuals are raised, and through individuals, they capture the totality. So rather than individual mobility, aim should work for collective mobility. And therefore, if the collective mobility is there, I think it may sound a philosophical argument, but all philosophies move with idealism. And once you start practicing those idealism, I think they become practical agendas. So let us become with the philosophy, let us become some idealism and practice it, and let us see if they become a practical agenda or not. Thank you. Jai Bhim, Jai Bharat, and thank you, AIM, for inviting. AIC, sorry.